Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, while we get that up, the Christian, there we go. Perfect. I will grab the clicker here. All right, so once you have gone through the training, I will have a packet for you to just sign saying that you listened to everything that I said and that you've read through the packet. It's not word for word what I'm saying with the PowerPoint. So make sure that you actually read through the packet and you say, I actually agree to this. One of the reasons for that is that you're actually agreeing to the way that we deal with things as a church. We do not operate the same way that like a secular institution might operate. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about mandatory reporting and things like that, just so that we're all on the same page. First off, thank you so much for all of your work with kids. Like, we do not have a program without volunteers. We have a wonderful program when we have great volunteers. And I am so grateful for the amount of help that we have. We have more help than we really even need right now for Kids Club, and I am so thankful for that. I want to keep that going because I want the program to grow, and we just couldn't do it without you. Here's a few of my favorite pictures. That's David Rockensock, not Josh Rockensock. They kind of look the same in that picture for some reason. Our volunteers, you really are the heart of the whole ministry. Like, we could not do anything that we do without you, so thank you for being servants. Thank you for having a heart for children. We really, really do appreciate it. We're going to be doing this training every single year, and the reason is not because there's a deficiency with you, and there's not a deficiency with our church. It's just simply so that we can keep track and make sure that we catalog historically everything that we do at this church. I think it's important that if anything bizarre were to happen or if there are any questions, that we have a paper trail that says that we have been doing these things and we've talked about these things often because it's important to us. Now, there's actually no law or anything that says that we have to do this. But we as a church, we come together and we say, we think this is actually really important to do because it helps tell everybody else that we care about your kids. We care, not only do you care about your kids, but we care about your kids too. And we want things to run really well. All right, so a few things to keep in mind about what a volunteer is not. Okay, we are not licensed counselors. Is there anybody in here who is licensed as a counselor? Okay, yeah, neither am I. All right, none of us are. So the reason I say that is because it's really important for you to understand that we're not here to psychoanalyze children. And that may not be as big of a problem or not really a problem, but I would say like a temptation in Sunday school. But we know that we've had in our own church like kids who have autism or kids who have a spectrum or whatever, and it's really tempting to try to figure out what is making this kid tick. I want to dive in and dig in and try to figure out what's going on. Maybe there's a home thing, or maybe there's this thing. That is not what we're doing as a church. We are not here to try to counsel people in that way. I'll explain to you what our approach is to counseling, but that is not our approach. Don't try to do something that that is outside, maybe even inside your profession. Even if there was like a therapist or a counselor here, I would still say the same thing. Don't seek to try to counsel children in that way. That is not our purpose. Truth Tracker volunteers, so this is actually all volunteers, so just ignore the Truth Tracker thing. All right, all of our volunteers, none of us are mandatory reporters unless you've done the mandatory reporting training. So some of you have had that training, but that does not necessarily mean, and they'll tell you in this training, I've gone through it every year too, they will tell you in the training that you're not a mandatory reporter everywhere you go. You don't walk into a store and you're a mandatory reporter. That's not the way that works. You are a mandatory reporter in the profession that you have received your training and in extenuous circumstances outside of that are obvious. But most of the time, we are not running into these really obvious things, like a kid who comes with a broken limb every other month or something like that. We don't see things like that very often. It could happen. We do have some mandatory reporters who are here at the church. Lynn McCool is one of those. Okay, so yeah, we have... what is my brain? Megan. I was going to call you Michelle. I don't know why. Yeah, him, Michelle. Yeah. Where she's actually no. Megan is a mandatory reporter. I am a mandatory reporter. Okay, you are also a mandatory reporter. Yep, that's Darian. Thank you. If you know Darian, Darian's right there. She's also a mandatory reporter. I think that, who was it that just talked to me earlier today who was asking about if they had to do the training? It doesn't matter. Anyway, I can't remember names anyway, so what am I trying? All right, so we do have some mandatory reporters in the church. If there is ever a question in your mind, do I need to report this? Please come talk to one of us. Now, the buck doesn't end with us. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that that's a good idea to have a conversation about it and to think through what that could possibly mean, okay? So don't just take it upon yourself to think, oh, I think I really need to report this. I have not ran into a situation yet. In the 15 years that I've been doing ministry, I've not yet ran into a situation where I've had at church a reason to report. Now, I have in counseling during camp. I have run into that. But for whatever reason, kids just really open up and they tell you more than you really want to know, and sometimes that's a good thing. And so, you really need to take the steps that you need to take. But for the most part, I don't suspect that is going to be a consistent, ongoing issue. It's better to err on the side of caution and to talk to somebody versus just going DEFCON 1 and just releasing everything and then ruining relationships with parents, and it's unnecessary to do that because that can't happen. We want to circumvent those things. All right, we're not required to specialize in any training. This is not a specialized training. You're not experts after this. When we're done with this, you're not some super expert that knows how to handle every situation. One of the great things about having a church like ours is that we're small. Everybody knows each other, and it's great to talk to each other when we're having issues. One of the things that we're starting this year with True Trackers is every single Sunday we are getting together before we start, and we're discussing what are some of the things that we need to be praying for. What are some of the issues that we're seeing between interpersonal relationships? Does somebody come with a chip on their shoulder every single day? And how do we actually approach those things? And it's good to discuss those things. So that's one of the wonderful things about having a church like ours, and I'm talking really fast because I feel rushed. Sorry. We are not father or mother figures, okay? What I mean by that is that you are not the parent. The parent is the last word in how a child is raised. Of course, we apply biblical principles, but we don't lord it over people. We bring them to the Bible, and we make them thirsty for what's really good. That's what we want to do. But we're not trying to control other people's lives or try to tell a parent hey, you're doing this wrong. Let me show you how to do it. We want them to be thirsty for the Word of God, and they see that through the appropriate relationships and the examples that we have of our families here at church. And we want to set those examples and be examples to them, but we're not their mother or their father. And there are certain relationship exchanges that go between fathers and mothers that are inappropriate for us as volunteers. One of those is straight-on full hugging children. I know that in the past, that has been a normal thing. Just going and hugging kids all the time. And it seems almost cruel to not try to foster that kind of environment. But the fact of the matter is that in this day and age, you cannot have that kind of physical relationship in a setting like this. Now, if it's at your house, if you're over at somebody's house and you're having dinner with them and you're really close to them, and I'm not talking about grandchildren, I'm talking about people you're not related to, okay? And you have that relationship, that's great. I'm just saying that here at church, it is a professional environment that we're trying to present. And one of those things is that we just don't go around hugging kids. Now, what about the little kid that's 2-year-old who's just really excited to see you? And they have this big smile on their face, and they run up and they wrap their arms around you. That's not the kind of thing I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is going around and basically saying, hey, give me a hug, give me a hug, give me a hug. All right? That is a very different thing. Kids, when they're really, really little, it's different. They're like aliens. They have their own doctors. They are not the same as regular people, okay? And so we don't really treat them the same. But when the kids get older, and by that, My wife is saying bye. When the kids get older, I'm talking like after they're basically no longer in the 4s and 5s range. But once we get to about first grade and on, side hugs, high fives, fist bumps. Those are the appropriate ways to exchange with kids. I'm not going around and like looking for people like, oh, right, that kid, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. All right, I'm not trying to come down on people. We're not trying to find reasons to talk to people. But if I do notice, and this goes with anybody in leadership, if we notice that you have this affinity of trying to get close to children in a way that is inappropriate and against our policies, we will have a conversation about it. Not only will we have a conversation about it, but if it is different enough, in other words, if you're like saying to a kid, hey, come give me a hug, and the kid doesn't want it, and you basically force it on them, we are going to actually catalog that. We're going to write that down, and you're going to sign a statement saying that, yes, this did happen, and yes, I'm aware of what our policies are. Okay, now that, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, I'm not worried about that. Okay, I'm just saying that if that were to happen, that is the way that we have to handle it. Just to have a history of occurrences. It's not because you're like super big in trouble or we think that you're a creep or anything. That's not the point. The point is that we have to have a paper trail of events, and everybody's going to have their own file. And right now, everybody's files is just going to have you signing the document saying, I agree with this. And I think that's probably going to be the only thing that's ever in any of your files. I'm not really worried about it. But if we set a precedent and we do it right, that means that we can treat people consistently across the line whenever we have new volunteers come in. And we know that we have new volunteers coming in all the time. And so we're always rotating people out. And we have to have a way of keeping track of those things. That's what that's for. All right, so you're not teaching authorities. What I mean by that, and this is really what our Constitution really says about pastoral leadership, that we oversee all of the different groups, all the different ministries of the church. And if you're like going through a curriculum or something and you're just like, that doesn't really, I don't really agree with that, and you just start making your own stuff up, we might have a conversation about that because it's not up to you to actually like just individually decide the doctrine of the church. Part of the job that we have as pastors is to be discerning of doctrine, and we look through the curriculum and we have those conversations. We eliminate what needs to be eliminated, but for the most part, we use safe curriculum, and it shouldn't be a problem. If you really are really strong-headed about that, then I'd love to have us sit down and talk about it. That's not really a problem. I've never really had that problem with anybody, and I actually look forward to those conversations because I think it's really helpful both ways. But just to say the director is always right. Like, if Pam is saying this is the way that we're doing it, she's the superintendent, just do it the way that she asks you to do it. All right, what are you then? If you're not any of those things, what are you? Well, you're ambassadors of Christ. Always ambassadors of Christ. That means when we walk through the doors of the church and we have all of this heaviness from something that happened. Usually it's parents, all right? We come in and like somebody spilt their milk on the way, or somebody didn't get up on time, or we're running behind, and so didn't do what they were supposed to do, and a person didn't like the breakfast, and so they made a big deal out of it. Whatever those issues are that you're bringing into the church, I'm not saying ignore those. I think those are important. They're important because it means that we need to actually sit and pray together about it. And I'm serious. If there is something that is bothering you, you're like, I can't teach because my mind is just filled with anger or resentment, or I'm just upset. Let's pray together. I have to do this almost every Sunday. I have a little one who's difficult. She's really hard. And she can cause some pretty interesting mornings. Or surprises in the morning or whatever. Like whatever it is, we have to pray about it. And I'd love to pray with you. So we are always ambassadors of Christ. We are Bible teachers. We are not secular professionals or anything like that. We focus on the Bible and what it says. How do we promote the rules? Not by lording it over, but actually by setting an example. We're not here to try to get people to conform to the rules. We want the kids to love the reason that those rules are there. Because learning to love the rules is learning to love the God who set the rules. Every time there's a problem with rules, it's always an authority problem. Always. It's always a heart problem. And so we need to lead by example to get them to love the rules, because we can, by example, show the rules are actually really good and they're worthwhile following. We're stewards of children. We are not mothers or fathers. We are stewards of the children. And so the parent is always right. We support what the parents do. We are not here to try to tell the kids how to act and how to behave. We are not a secular institution. This is how all public and state institutions are run. The teacher says, this is right. Don't listen to your parents. Your parents are wrong. And kids are learned to just follow the authority. That is not how we do things here. We set the parents up and we support the parents in their endeavors to teach their children and to raise them in the nurture and discipline of the Lord. And I've already said it, but you're the heart of the program. All right, so we're not licensed counselors, but we are biblical counselors. So I'm just going to give you a very quick rundown of how we counsel biblically with children. Let's say that you have a child who is really difficult in your class. They're just really awful. How do you go about helping them as a biblical counselor? The first thing that we do is we identify what the problem is. That means that we give the real definition of what's happening. When a kid is sad, sometimes they're sad because they're hurt, or sometimes they're sad, actually more often than not, they're sad because their pride is hurt. And so you have to identify what it is. What is this? This is actually cold anger. What you are feeling right now is not sadness, it's anger for not getting your way. You identify the problem. The next thing that you do is you help them basically fill in this blank. I just wish that blank. I just wish that I was picked and not so-and-so. I just wish that I had the red paper, not the yellow paper. Okay, whatever the issue is, have them fill in that in. They fill in that blank. That identifies the idol of the heart. And we're really after idols, not after the kids. We're not here to destroy their spirit. We're here to get after the will. So you identify the idol. What is the idol of the heart? I wanted something and I didn't get it. Or I didn't do as well in this game as I wish I did. I should have. Or this kid is just really bothering me and he's just a big dummy. And then you can talk about Raka and all that stuff. All right, so the next thing that we do after we identify the problem and then we identify the idol of the heart, then we give it the biblical name. So what does the Bible call this? It calls it anger or pride or self-seeking or malice. Find the biblical definition. If you need help with this, we have children's biblical counseling manuals that I would love to sit down and help you through anytime. Just let me know if you're interested in that. Then you give the name of the biblical solution to that problem. It's really important that you give it the biblical name because there's lots of other names out there that are given to issues that are not the Bible's definition of things. What's your problem? Well, I'm schizophrenic. Where's the chapter and verse for that? You can still, even in the midst of schizophrenia, you can still find the idols of the heart. Even though it might seem really crazy and out there and blown up, you can still find the biblical definition in there. We don't allow people to use inappropriate terms to define or to direct how they should act. We give it a biblical name. We give it a biblical solution. So what's the solution to anger? Can somebody tell me what the solution to anger is? Forgiveness. Yeah, that could be one. What if it's pride? Prideful anger. What would be the solution then? Humility, right? So what you're saying is that you should always win all the time because what? You're just the best? That doesn't seem very realistic, does it? Right? So I'm exaggerating here, but it's kind of that kind of conversation, all right? All right, and then you need to pray with them for the Lord's help by his power to be able to be humble, to be selfless, to be honest, whatever it is. So that's how we do biblical counseling. It's very simple. Identify the problem, give it a biblical name, find the idol, give it a biblical name, give it a biblical answer, and pray about it. Those are the steps. All right, so we're not mandatory reporters, but we are encouragers. So if a person is having a really difficult time at home, we want to give them the space to be able to explain what's going on in their heart. Most of this is just listening, just being a good listener. So that the format of this is love, know, speak, do. I love the person by listening to the problem. Then when I want to know more about the problem, I start asking questions. You need to ask good questions. There are great biblical questions to ask. Jesus was an absolute amazing debater, not because he proved people wrong, but because he asked really good questions. Socrates would be put to shame even, and Plato would be put to shame by Jesus' ability to get to the heart of the problem very quickly. Learn to ask good questions. So questions like, why do you think that is true? So the person says, man, I think everybody hates me. Why do you think that's true? Has somebody said that they hate you? Who told you that they hated you? You start getting down to what the truth is, all right? So you ask good questions. Next, after you've gone through this long process of listening, mostly listening, and then asking questions, then you can start to speak. And you give the biblical name to any fleshly excuse, or you give a biblical name to whatever. It's the same thing as biblical counseling. You're just right back in the biblical counseling thing. And then do. What is doing? Well, doing is follow up, fill up, and face the problem. So follow up is saying that, hey, if this is a recurring problem with this particular kid, I'm going to bring this up the next time it happens, and we're going to have a conversation about it. Hey, do you remember last week when this happened? Program, even for us as teachers. We as teachers are also being discipled through the process of teaching. Did you know that? Teaching is the number one way to reinforce an idea. Teaching also tests our patience, it tests our knowledge, it tests our time management, it tests our promptness, it tests so many aspects of our heart that it is a type of. Did I lose it? It's a type of discipleship. So when I say that it's a type of discipleship, it means that as we work through this process of teaching, I want you to know that you are not in this by yourself. That when there are frustrations, when there are difficulties, when things are not going well, that we can actually come together and find solutions to all of these problems together. That's my heart. That's what I want to happen. And that's what, I know that's what Pam wants. She's a great problem solver, by the way. She's really good at solving problems. And I'd love to be able to help you, and she would love to be able to help you when there are issues. And sometimes we follow through, sometimes we don't. but we really want to see this more as a long-term discipleship program, not just for the kids, but for ourselves at all. All right, so how do we be good disciples? What makes a good disciple? Well, a disciple needs to be teachable. I would argue that teachability is the most important characteristic of any of the virtues. It's really just a form of humility. If you're not teachable, there's no area for growth. You will never, ever get past the challenges in life because you can't grow. It's stubbornness. You need to be teachable. You need to be humble, receptive. And this one, courageous. What do I mean by that? There are certain aspects of teaching where we have to step outside our comfort zones. Does anybody ever remember the first time they ever taught? Okay, how did you feel about that, Connor? How did that make you feel? Yeah, train wreck, right? How about you, Noah? You're going to say too? I'm sorry, Isaiah. I know who you are. Names. I just call you whatever. Alfred the Great. Go for it. That's funny. Yeah, it's kind of disorienting, right? It's a little foggy. Okay, this probably doesn't surprise you. I did not feel that way when I first taught. The first time I taught, I was totally bold. Like, I didn't know what I was talking about, and it was not a great lesson. But I was courageous. And then I had a little chat with the guy who was running the class. He's like, he's trying to be really encouraging, you know? He's like, you really like these kinds of subjects, don't you? In other words, like, what are you talking about? Yeah, just totally, like, ruined it. We have to learn through that process, right? But being courageous means that I'm willing to step out of that comfort zone. I'm willing to do things that are not exactly comfortable, and that includes counseling. That includes sitting down with a kid. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about the biblical counseling, sitting down and calling kids out and trying to help them through that process. Be faithful. Being faithful really means not just showing up, but also faithful throughout the week as you prepare for your lessons. If you are an extempore like me, who likes to do everything just like just off the sleeve, like that's not off the cuff, like I am 100% that person. And I've had to learn that, wow, I'm a lot better when I actually prepare. And I've had to learn how to prepare, and that's a discipline. Some people, preparation is like, I have to prepare or I'm going to die. That would be my wife. She's like, I have to have everything exactly out what I'm going to say. Otherwise, I'm just going to drown. Okay, it's like two extremes, and we kind of even each other out. But being faithful means being faithful in preparation, not just of your material, but also your heart. If your heart is just unraveling all the time, and you feel pressure, that pressure is going to transfer onto your students. They feel that. They know that that's not, like, there's something just not right. There's no joy. And we need to be joy-filled. And the only way to do that is to take care of our heart issues throughout the week and to submit to Christ. Again, I'd love to pray for you if you're ever struggling. And finally, and they would say that this is the key to any ministry, be flexible. Flexibility is the key. One of the most flexible people that I know is Pastor Dan. I don't know how he does it, but like he'll show up in the morning and I'll be like, hey, this isn't working, this happened. And he'd be like, oh, well, we'll just do it without that and, whatever. Like, doesn't bother him at all. And I'm just like pulling my hair out and like, oh, okay, maybe I just need to calm down a little bit and be a little flexible. All right. Here are some of our rules. I'm gonna go through these. These are all going to be in your manual, and I apologize for keeping you long. 2 leaders or open door. What that means is that if you have kids and you're a leader and they're with you in a room, there has to be 2 people in that room or the door is open. You cannot have that door closed. If that door is closed, and I don't care what the reason is, I'm not going to come after you. I'm not going to be upset. I'm just going to ask why. Why was this door closed? Oh, well, one of the kids got up, they had to go to the bathroom, and I just didn't think about it. It's like, okay, like I understand that. It's really, really important that you leave that door open. It's like, oh, I know. Now, if you're going to come up with excuses and stuff, that's going to be a kind of an issue. But anytime again, this is all about just keeping track of things. It's not because you're in trouble, but if I find that you're in a room with a child by yourself or children by yourself and the door is closed, I am going to write something up and you're going to sign it just saying, hey, this happened. Yes, I remember the policy and I won't do it again. It's not like a 3 strikes you're out or 4 strikes you're out or 5 or 10 or 20 or 30. Okay, that's not what this is. This is not like being written up at work. Okay, this is simply so that we can say we have tracked the progress of each person and we have a plan in place for that. Now, do I suspect that that's ever going to happen? No, I don't. I don't suspect that's going to happen. Just make sure that it doesn't. Make sure that it doesn't. So either you have 2 people in the room and the door is closed, or that door is open and you're one person. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Private and a public. Have a troubling child. What you want to do is take care of that in your own space. Don't take them out. Not unless they're actually disrupting the class. I'll talk about how we do that. But we never, ever, ever discipline a child alone. I don't care if it's out in the hallway. I don't care if it's another room with the door open. You do not discipline a child alone. Ensure that there is somebody else there. Or if there isn't, make sure that you can get somebody. Get some help. Call for somebody. Ask one of the kids, hey, could you find Pam for me really quick? One of those kids will be happy to go and run and find Pam. She'll be around, or whoever. Like, don't find yourself in this situation. The reason is not because we think that you're doing something wrong, but it can be misconstrued so easily. And it is a protection for you as a teacher. Don't find yourself in a disciplinary scenario alone. Do it quietly, not privately. Okay, so in the classroom, a great way to do it is do a little quiet talk, okay? So it might look like this. So-and-so keeps on talking over you, and they're not paying attention. And you go, hey, so-and-so, I really like to choose people who raise their hand. And so somebody else raises their hand, and they're going to raise their hand right away. Don't actually pick on them. Pick on somebody else. You see so-and-so raise their hand properly. Then when you ask the next question, then you choose them. Okay, you don't give immediate feedback. You actually have to get them to work for it in their brain to get that. Because if they just get immediately rewarded, they're just going to talk over you and say, oh, oops, and then raise their hand. What you want to train them to do is that you're actually going to reward all those who are following the rules, and then you can say, oh, so-and-so. And when you talk to them directly like that, quietly, in our classroom, we raise our hand. Do you remember what rule number 1 is? Yes, we raise our hand when we ask a question. And then you don't let them talk. You go to the next kid. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You have to raise your hand. Oh, so-and-so is raising their hand really well, and reward that. So what do you do if a child just persists in it? Well, then you have the quiet talk. That is that you get down on their level, eye to eye, and you say to them, hey, I really need you to stop talking while everybody else is talking. Do you remember what our rule is? Okay, thank you. Have 3 of those quiet talks before you say, okay, now we have to have a private talk. That is that I have somebody or somebody else talk together to the child. And then if that happens 2 more times, then you're like, okay, now you're going to have a Pastor Jared talk or a Pam talk. Okay? Nobody wants to talk to Pastor Jared at that point. All right? And if they continue to do it, then I just call their parents and have them get picked up, or I send them away to Alaska or something. All right, so if there's a real sensitive case, you find something out that's really sensitive, a child is talking about inappropriate, like, they're not talking about medical, the medical terms for privates, okay, but they're actually using like crude language or something like that, and it's obvious that they have knowledge way beyond their years, and they're talking in an inappropriate way. Those are red flags that there's something not right here. This child should not be talking about these types of things. And so at that point, like, you should then take to your director or your superintendent. Okay? They need to know that so that we can actually catalog it, say this happened today, this is what was said, and then you can actually have a talk with them and this love, no, speak, do conversation. All right, so this is new. This is that everybody has to have a mandatory background check. So we just found out that you can actually do this online. I'm doing a little bit of research on how maybe I can do that if because a lot of college students are from out of state, whatever. We're not worried about the federal background check. Like, if you have a felony, that's going to show up just if I Google your name. Like, I'm not really worried about it. Like, I want 2 references if I can't get a state background check, but the cost is $15, and you can do this online. The church will actually reimburse you for that amount, and if you need help, like, through that process, I would love to do that after church sometime. Just pop into my office. Hey, I really want to do my background check. All right, and then we just put all your information in. It prints out. We don't keep it on file like your Social Security or anything like that. It's just done right then and there, and then we get a page that says, hey, this person, they like to take out the garbage for their neighbor, and they're really nice. We're like, okay, perfect. No worries. We don't do that because I don't actually think that we're not going to catch anybody who has an issue. Like, it's not to catch, unless there's like a serious issue, which could happen. But again, in all the years, I've never seen it. Like, I've never seen it. People who have become problems later on typically don't even have a record. It's other things that tell us that there's something wrong. It's other things. So that brings us to the see something, say something. If you see somebody, because I can't be eyes everywhere, Pam is not everybody. If you see somebody doing things that you know are inappropriate, kissing somebody else's children, for instance, hugging them constantly, holding them, finding time alone with them, things like that, please, please, please come and get me and talk to me, or talk to Pam, or talk to Lynn, or talk to somebody who's a mandatory. Like, we need to know. Do not be afraid. You're not doing anything wrong by simply saying, hey, I noticed that so-and-so has their door closed and they're there and alone, or I saw them walk into the bathroom with a child alone. Like, those things need to be taken care of immediately. So if you see something, please say something. That feeling in your gut, you know what I'm talking about. Listen to it. I don't care if it's wrong. Because if you're feeling it, I'm sure that other people are feeling it too. It's impolite to talk about those things, but it's unkind to hide them. Kindness is doing what's right. Okay? Politeness is trying to save face, essentially. So listen to that. Okay, so the disciplinary guidelines, professional care guidelines, those are all in your packet. What that means, basically, don't follow anybody into a bathroom. Even with the little kids, like if they need help, then get a parent, okay? If they're not potty trained, usually they're really, really little. You know, they're in diapers or something like that, and they're typically just doing diapers. But if they're kind of like in that in-between stage, please get a parent, all right? Don't be the one who takes it upon yourself to take care of it. Make sure that you're getting the parent to take care of those things. Don't ever follow a child into a bathroom. If you do, like if we're in the in-between bathroom between the nursery and the toddlers, 4s and 5s or whatever that room is, okay, leave the door open. They're little kids, it's okay. All right? Leave it open to the nursery side, but leave the door open. Don't ever close the door and be alone with the child. Yes?
That brings up another thought, 'cause, I mean, when we're in the nursery, we will take I think most of us will take, Abby or whoever into the bathroom, and usually we close the door to give her privacy so that, she's got coverage, and that door is, you can hear through it. Do you really want us to leave that open?
Toward the nursery side, yes. If you need to stand in the way, stand in the way. Okay, or just have a parent take care of it.
But I think if we just shut the door and then I'll stand by the door. I have my alarm on the door. Is I'm in the nursery, but the door is still open. Like, you can see what she's doing, but it's still giving her the privacy.
Yeah.
Our potty trainer. Well, we're gonna have more coming up, so it's worth
Mm-hmm. See, and that's like the most difficult stage because like they do need a little help and everything.
Even if the door's open nursery side, where you don't have a nursery right now during the winter, so.
Just open it toward the nursery. Just leave the door open. I don't it's not that I want people to see. I just don't want anybody alone in the bathroom that has no windows. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to set a precedent for anybody else to say that this is okay. Somebody was like, oh, why are you doing that? We always do this, no matter what. Like, it's really setting the example. It's not because I think anything's going to happen. It's just, like, you can see the inconsistency of saying, well, we do it, for special cases, but we can't define those cases necessarily. It's just sort of, like, we have to be consistent. It's just important that we're consistent. That makes sense. Good question, actually. All right, so we talked about the quiet talks and everything for disciplinary guidelines. Professional care guidelines, so again, assist children in the bathroom. All right, most, like the younger kids, they're more complicated, but like once you get to like first grade, that should not be an issue, all right? You should not be following any first grader into a bathroom. And we don't do bathroom parties. We don't drop them off at the bathroom and just let them go in there, all the kids. In fact, the most recent study that has been done is that the majority of problems that have happened, majority of assaults that happened are actually peer-to-peer. That's number one right now. Number two is somebody that you know that you're related to. Okay, so no bathroom parties, no powwows, or anything like that. Just one at a time. Send them in one at a time. That's how we want to handle that. And it's not usually a huge issue with Sunday school, but we have more of it in that kids club. All right, we talked about this. No hugging, sitting on laps, toting children around, or kissing children. All right, this is more for my workers. Like, I don't want them carrying any child at all during kids. There's no reason for that. 4s and 5s, they don't need to be picked up and toted and everything. Just leave them on the ground. If they want to be picked up, like, go to eye level, and you can like hold their hands, talk to them, whatever, but just avoid doing something like that. Never be alone with a child, and again, if you see something, say something. So that's everything that I have tonight. Thank you so much for your patience. I will have that document ready for you to read and then sign that will say that I actually was here, I went through the training, and then I will add your background check when we get to it. I'm not in a hurry to do the background checks. I just want to make sure that we have them all done before the end of the year, so that I can say that we cataloged it for the school year, okay? So I'm not in a super big hurry. It's more for the college students. I'm more concerned about the college students having it in there quicker than for the people who've been teaching here forever and ever and ever. I just need to be able to put that and catalog it and say that I have a history and a paper trail. Any questions for me